I'll sit if you don't mind. So as Winston said, my name is Geoff Bonte, and you know, the funny thing is mental illness has been my shadow for my entire life, oddly enough. From a personal point of view, it's been my shadow for the best part of my life. My family inadvertently prepared me to be a caregiver by virtue of them all having mental illnesses that were very severe. But you know, the irony of it all to me really is that mental illness really doesn't exist until it sort of conflicts with our social norms. You know, it's this invisible thing. Show me someone who walks down the street who has a bone sticking out of their leg and has people going, well, you're fine, just walk it off. Yeah. But anyone with depression, anxiety, PTSD, you name it, those are the invisible ones that we sort of have to prove, that we have to be convincing enough. Now, if you are a person of color, if you are female, if you have disabilities, if you don't speak the language well, if you're not really well educated, the odds are really against you to be believed. Now, how sick is that? Isn't that the illness? That we have a hard time believing those who are struggling? Now, I look at the word behind me. I've been looking at it the entire time that I've been sitting here, and Winston, I'm very grateful to be here, so it's a wonderful thing that you're doing. And you know, mental health to me speaks of connection. Health to me is about connection. Correction. Life to me is about connection. Yeah? And so when that connection gets broken, we struggle. That's just part of life. We're a social creature. And I remember when I was a child, connection was broken. There were some things children should take for granted, which is the love of their parents, security, safety, those kind of things. And that was compromised for me. So really I struggled most of my life to really understand in my heart the importance of connecting. Now, as I said, mental illness has been part of my life for the entirety of my life. And for 25 years, I've actually been a mental health counselor. I've been a clinical counselor. So I ran a business and was very fortunate to work with people and support them. And the one thing I learned to do was to connect. I didn't want to be the kind of person to talk to people, to talk down to people. So I was the expert knowing what was going on in your life, because how could I? Sure, I may have gone through similar things. I might understand some things here and there, but you're the expert. So who am I to question? It is really my job to understand. And so I really struggled with that in school. I really thought, you know, when we're talking about the difficult client, the resistant client, and I thought, hang on a second, how could a client be resistant? I mean, if they're coming to you, if they're in a place where they're not okay, why would they not want to be okay? Isn't it the other way around? Isn't the resistant provider who isn't doing the work to connect, to understand, to validate, to be a human being across from another human being? It's my job to somehow connect with you so you can talk to me about what's going on, so you don't have to prove to me then that what's going on for you is true. It's just we get to work together to figure out how we can help you to be okay. And sometimes okay isn't necessarily smiling, laughing, joking, and jumping around. Sometimes okay is just being able to get through the next freaking day. I'm okay with that. I've had to learn to be okay with that. Now, I want to talk to you about the provider experience. And for the last probably 10, 15 years, I've been very fortunate to be able to speak with other providers, really educate, provide professional development for other providers. And it's always mind-boggling to me how the rate of burnout is through the roof with providers. And I think to myself, this is ridiculous. How could I, as a client, sit across from someone whose help I need you to connect with me, and you're burnt out? So how could you support me? Maybe I should support you instead, so that you can support me back. So I took it to heart to really make sure that I'm supporting providers while I was working with clients in my office. And for about 20 years, and I did that with clients specifically, did some professional development. And so as of late, I've switched to working with providers specifically because I'm sick and tired of our healthcare system not being effective enough. It saddens me that we have forgotten that we're sitting across from human beings. And all the theories are out the window. I could care less. And I'm trained in various modalities, but I've never really cared about that. Because none of that really matters. As providers, we can't have people sitting across from us have to fit into what we can or can't do. It should be us being able to be honest enough, vulnerable enough to say, you know what, here's what I can do, here's what I can't do. And because I can't do this piece, let me refer to someone who can. But not just someone who can do those pieces, but someone who can understand, someone who cares enough. That's important. Because no matter what medication we use, no matter what paradigm we use, it is the connection that makes a difference. If I don't feel understood as a client, I could care less what you do for me. Because I won't trust it. And if I don't trust you, good luck to all of us. So I have worked incessantly with providers. And, what I often hear is that we talk about being providers as part of our calling, our duty. It's what I've always done in my life. It's what I've always wanted to do. So here I am, so lucky to do the work. And I think that is great. When I think about any of the education that most of us go through, I don't remember any course that talks about taking care of yourself. There's courses that talk to you about, mental health issues and diagnoses, and here's a medication, and here's what you do when so-and-so comes in, and make sure you use paradigm 101/B for this diagnosis and that. It's ridiculous. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, how can we support others? So a lot of providers don't, sadly, take good enough care of themselves. And it's not because they're callous human beings, of course not. Most of them do genuinely care. But providers are often people who look outside of themselves and forget to look inside. And so my life came crashing down because I forgot to look inside for many, many years, because mental illness was my shadow for the vast majority of my life. And I would have argued with you that I genuinely cared all my life about the work that I was doing. But I couldn't do it well enough until I was well enough. I couldn't do it well enough until I was well enough. And so what happened was that I had to learn to be vulnerable. See, providers aren't good at that. They're rescuers, right? They're the ones who, there's a fire and all of us run away from the fire and they run into the fire because they're heroes, right? They're the ones who see blood and they go to the blood and go, okay, what can we do? And we're the ones who go, oh no, hang on a second, blood, ooh, makes me crazy, right? So that they're heroes, they're martyrs. They go out and rescue and do. But they forget that taking care of self is by none the most important. Selfishness is the foundation of altruism. Would you want a lifeguard jumping in who doesn't take care of themselves, who's completely exhausted and hasn't eaten in a couple of days and is completely drunk and high on drugs? Would you want that person jumping in to rescue you when you fall overboard into the water? I hope not, because chances are both of you will drown. But see, many providers will not take good care of themselves because their expectation is to be an expert, to not be vulnerable, to not be human, to be superhuman. And so imagine a doctor saying to you, you know what, I think I got to skip our appointment today. I'm actually not feeling well enough. That would never come out of their mouth. Because again, if you do that and you run a business, people say, oh, forget that. I don't want to see that person. But I would say, that's the person you really want to see. That's a person who's honest. That's a person who will show up. That's a person who will connect. That's a person who will be honest enough to say, you know what, today I'm here, and I can promise you when I'm not here, I will not pretend to be here. That's the person whom you may want to entrust with your well-being. See, I've learned a long time ago that life, that my life is like a house. And I'm looking at my wife because she's heard this many times before. I didn't understand it for a long time. And I thought to myself, you know what, if my life is like a house, that means that each room is a role in my life. So I'm a father, I'm a brother, I'm an uncle, I'm an author, whatever. I'm the many different roles comprised of different rooms in this house. What do you think the foundation of the house is? It's not rhetorical, by the way. What do you think the foundation of that house is? My well-being. None of it matters. Everything is fragile if I don't take care of myself. How could I be a good husband, a good father, a good uncle? How could I be a good professional if I don't take care of myself? See, as providers, whether it's professionally or even personally, when we take care of family and friends, we often think that we need to make sure that we take care of them the best way we can at our neglect. And it comes from the best place possible. And sometimes society says to us, you know, when you're a provider, do everything you can. Make sure you're there no matter what. And then they frown at you. They look at you and go, what, you're taking a day off? But look, so-and-so is suffering. How could you abandon them? See, all these judgments without knowing what your story is. I get exhausted. Anybody else ever been exhausted? Oh, okay, so I guess we're human, right? Okay, fair enough. When we're exhausted, shouldn't we take a break so that we can make sure that when we come back, we're prepared and ready? And that might be the exception to the rule. When the odd scenario in life, and it's that sort of 1 out of 1,000 scenarios where we just need to be present no matter what, that's when we might need to say, you know what, my break can't wait right now. But I would argue with you that most of our scenarios, when we give care, don't require that. Now, we might say to ourselves, but I love this person. I got to be there for them no matter what, because they're suffering and I'm okay, so I got to do whatever I can. Well, if we love those people, if we genuinely say, I love you, then we ought to make sure that we are ready and good enough to take care of them. And we need to be honest with them at all times. And honesty is not popular. In our society, we don't talk about honesty. I mean, sure we do, right? There's all these things of being transparent and owning our feelings and being honest about things. But how often are we? How often do you go to the grocery store, walk through the checkout, and the checkout person says, oh, how's your day? And how often do you hear yourself say, oh, fine? How often do you hear other people say, hang on a sec, you know what? My dog ate my cat, and my husband left me, and my house is burnt down, and you know, I don't know if I can afford these groceries, and I have to cook dinner. I don't really want to cook dinner, and I shouldn't be eating because I feel too fat, but I shouldn't feel fat because, you know, every body type should be okay, but I don't really know what to do, and I don't know, maybe this product isn't the best one. It says it's organic, but maybe it's just a label, but I should have organic because it makes me feel better about the food that I'm eating, but I really want McNuggets because those are really tasty. Do you say that to that person? Of course not. We are groomed to lie. We are groomed to make sure that other people look at us as being healthy and okay. Now, I don't know about you, but I have buried too many people in my life. People that were lovely, that I loved with all my heart. People who were old, who seemed to have lived a long life, kind of say, well, you know, you've done your thing. You've ridden the horse for as long as you could. You know, maybe your ride is over. Okay, fair enough. You know, maybe 80, 90 is realistic to say, okay, maybe it's done. But I've also buried people as young as 15 and sadly 26. That is no time to go. And so I think to myself, not only because of that, because of many things, that life is too short. Life is too short for bullshit. Life is too short to lie. Life is too short to lie to ourselves or those whom we love. So if we are providers of care in any shape or form, we ought to be honest. Honest with ourselves, what we can and can't do. Honest with those whom we're taking care of. regarding what we can and can't do. Honest with ourselves about our ability to connect or our pain that might stop us from connecting. So that those who rely on us don't get a false sense of security when we really can't do the job. Honesty really is the key. Because I know I spent most of my life being dishonest with myself and people around me, and it damn near destroyed me, quite frankly. Life is too short to do that again, I'm telling you that much. So even if honesty hurts, even if taking care of yourself might go against cultural values, gender values, age values, understand that that is a foundation of everything you care about. Because I know for me, it's been the foundation of everyone and everything I love and care about. And without that, how could I tell someone that I'm here to support you? Someone asked me the other day what my calling is. And even on the way over here, we talked about, so if you could do life again, what would you do? And deep down, I just know that my job in this world is to support people. I love that. I love being of service. And I can now say proudly and happily, through lots of pain, hardship, nightmares, and night sweats and terrors and fear of telling the secrets that my family is not supposed to be telling because that's culturally not appropriate, I can say I can now genuinely connect. And I'm still learning, and I'm willing to continue to learn. So I hope for you, if you're in a position of being a provider of care to anyone, whether it's a loved one, if it's professional, understand and know that your well-being is a very piece that they are honored to have. Thank you.